With patch 12.0.5 and the sort of new version of Turbo Boost coming out, the season's basically effectively over. That usually signals the end of the season. Like, not literally, of course, but in terms of, like, them taking the gearing seriously and having a serious progression. That's basically finished since, we have the bonus rolls and all that now. So I thought it'd be a good time to do a sort of quote unquote scientific ranking of the Delve content and the Delve season for Midnight Season 1. I've got a whole list of criteria here. The way this works is these bolded sections are sort of categories, and then there's subcategories, and there's subcategories, and then each subcategory adds up to has point values, adds up to the total points for that specific main section, and at the end, I've got a total score here for the main sections, and we will give that a letter grade based on the total points I've given it. So if you see here, just a quick overview, we have the Delves with its subcriterias, the Loot, the Nemesis and else the surrounding content, bugs, powers, curios, changes / new stuff, the Delver's Journey, the Companion. This one is specific to Season 1 because, of course, next season will also be Valeera, so this is a specific criteria to Season 1. However, if there are any major changes with Valeera aside from the Curios, I will, of course, make a new section to discuss those changes for Season 2. Then I have a bonus section here that I'm awarding no points. This is just subjective stuff where I talk about how I feel about the cosmetic rewards, little section about the Delve Hall of Fame, and the gear rewards and how it's interacted with Turbo Boost because I have some opinions on that. So you'll notice I gave it rankings and like weights based on how important I think each one is. So for example, Powers is only worth 10 points because that's fairly unimpactful versus the Delves I've given 80 points. So I've tried to weight them based on how important I think they are and how impactful I think they are to the overall season and how much of a part they play in the season. And I will be going through these and talking about each individual section and then at the end giving it a total score and my overall thoughts on the season. So the first section here is the Delves. This season, obviously there's a ton of new Delves because it's Season 1 and there's a new expansion. So this section will be fairly long. In something like Season 2, for example, this section will be a lot shorter because I'd say if it follows the War Within formula, there'll be something like one or two new variants per existing delve, and maybe one or two new delves with 3 variants each. So you're looking at a significant reduction in the total amount of things needed to be ranked from Season 1 to Season 2. So for Season 1 specifically, this will be fairly long. However, to discuss, I've broken it down into 4 categories and then given each of the delves a total point value for each of those categories. So for example, speed here, this is just obviously how fast they take, how long they take. So I've assigned 30 points total to speed. And if you see there's 10 total delves, so each delve gets 3 points for speed, and that works out nicely because there's 3 variants each. So what I'm going to be doing here is for speed and fun, I'm going to be giving, I'm going to be fairly broad about it just because you can get super granular with the decimals, but I'm going to say if it's a D or an F in terms of speed, I'm going to be giving it 0 points. If it's a C or higher, I'm going to give it 1 point. That's just what I'm going to do just to be fairly broad. Obviously, I could be more granular with it, but when you're getting into these small values, not super important. Fun is just going to be purely subjective. Obviously, this is just my experience and how I enjoyed them. I'm going to try and separate it from speed because I do find being able to speedrun them really fun. So I'm going to try to discuss things that are not related to the speed and just talk about the gameplay and all that. Difficulty, this will be fairly easy. I'm going to say if a delve is egregiously difficult versus any of the others, I'm going to give it 0 points. If it's not, I'm just going to give it 1 point. The ones that are out of 10 are just going to be general, just like general based on the whole delve and not per variant. And vibes as well. Obviously, the whole delve. The vibes are not going to change super drastically between variants because you're in the same zone or instance. So that won't change very much. So to get started, we have Atal'Aman. Obviously, this is one of the delves in Zul'Aman. It's an outdoor area, which I like. So we're going to start with speed here. So we go over to the spreadsheet. Our first Atal'Aman here is a C tier. So that is going to be 1 point for Atal'Aman. That is totally unbecoming. Next one is Totem Annihilation. This is unfortunately a D tier, so I will be giving that no points for that, so still 1. And then again, we have Ritual Interrupted, which is again a D tier, so I will be giving that no points. So Atal'Aman gets a 1 out of 3 for speed. For fun, we're going to go back again. We have Totally Unbecoming. I actually think this delve is pretty fun, this variant. You can pull the whole delve, so you can run around, and you can use the extra action button while moving. So you can run around while popping all the toads and or cleansing them, whatever it is you're doing, all while pulling the whole delve. And then once you get to the end, you can mass AoE everything down, and it's like really fun, really nice gigantic pull. So I'm going to give that some plus points for that. Next is Totem Annihilation. I actually don't really like this one very much. It's like there's a lot of clicking, and I think clicking, it sounds like kind of stupid, but I think clicking makes a delve less fun because it interrupts the flow, right? Like if I see a totem that I need to go click, I can't, I need to get out of combat because if I get hit, it'll interrupt the cast, except for a few other instances in other delves. But so I'm going to give that no points just because I don't find that one very fun. Ritual Interrupted. This one is decent. I'm actually going to give it half a point. So it gets 1.5 out of 3. I like the end where a lot of the objectives are sort of at the end. It's like once you do the main objective, it's like okay, kill the ritualists up by the altars and then fight the boss. I like where it backloads some of the objectives and instead of just here's shit to do then kill the boss, like do 10 things then kill the boss, or do 15 things and then 10 things and kill the boss. It's do 10 things, go fight like a couple mini bosses, and then go fight the boss. So I do like that. So I'm going to give it half a point, but it doesn't do anything super special that jumps out to me as like being fun though. In terms of difficulty, this one's pretty standard. It's not super difficult. None of these are particularly difficult either. So I'm just going to give it a 1 out of 1. There's nothing really to talk about there. It's just fairly inoffensive in terms of difficulty. In terms of vibes, I do really like the vibes here. I like that it's outdoors. I am a big fan of the troll aesthetic, so that's sort of subjective for me. But I think it being outdoors, the variants being like troll themed, like they could have easily just done a variant in here that's just not related to trolls or anything. But I do like the vibes in there. I like the fact that you can click items and get buffs. So the area is cool. It's cool that you can mount. So I'm going to give it points for vibes. And then if you look at the total here, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4.5. So this gets a 4.5 for the total ranking here. Next up is Collegiate Calamity. This is the delve in directly in Silvermoon. Obviously, Darkway is also directly in Silvermoon, but this one is literally right in the middle of the city. So I do like that. And I actually, right off the bat, just because of that, I'm giving it a point for vibes. I do think it's really cool to have a delve inside the city that is literally the city itself. Like, it's an outdoor section of the city. So I think that's super cool. So right off rip, I'm giving it points for vibes because I do really, really enjoy that. So for speed, go through quick here. So Collegiate Calamity, A tier, first one there. Invasive Glow. Famous, one of the more famous delves this season. People really like this one. It's really fast, and it's got an extra action button that'll do all your damage. So people really do like this one. So I'm going to give it a point for that. Collegiate Calamity, Academy Under Siege. Another point. It's B tier, so there you go. Collegiate Calamity, Faculty of Fear. This one, unfortunately, is not very fast, so we'll be getting no points. So 2 out of 3 for speed. Collegiate Calamity for fun. We go through here. Invasive Glow absolutely gets a point from me. There's nothing more fun than doing a huge pull where you can just pull the entire delve and AoE everything down and kite. So absolutely gets a point for me. I do really love Invasive Glow. It's one of my favorite variants this season. Next we got Academy Under Siege. This one is the routing in this delve, this variant, is actually quite fun. So this is the one where you have to go around and click the portals. And then you have to click the crystals. So yeah, there's crystals you have to click, and you get around with portals. So there's like it unlocks a new section of the delve that's sort of on the roof above the main section where you're at. So I am going to give this one a point because there is a cool route you can do. I don't know if you can do this on other classes, but on Demon Hunter, when you get the crystal that's on the top section, the 2 crystals up there, you can actually jump on the roof of that main building that's to your right when you first enter the outdoor section. You can jump up onto the roof of that and run across the roof and then get the other crystal that's on the platform near where you fight the boss in Invasive Glow. So the route is really sick. I had a lot of fun making that route, and I have a lot of fun running it, so I'm going to give it a point. And then the third variant is Faculty of Fear. I actually hate this delve a lot. So this is the one where you need to reveal and kill all of the like Twilight spies, the Twilight's Hammer Cult spies. So the way you do it is you walk around, you see these NPCs that are highlighted in yellow, and you use your extra action button, and it will reveal them. So, and this delve is actually, this variant's actually kind of close to being good in terms of fun, but there's a big issue with it. So what I tried doing, and it is also what's holding it back from being fast. So you can go through and reveal all the Twilight spies, because you can do this while moving. You can reveal all the Twilight spies and just run through the whole thing and not even stop, and you can collect a gigantic pool of them. However, the fill the bar is tuned pretty tightly, where you need to kill almost all of them in order to fill the bar. And the issue is the Twilight Shadecasters, like the ogres. I forget what they're called. I believe they're called the Twilight Shadecasters. So they're these ogre mobs. So they're worth the most count, and without them, you can't fill the bar. They have a leash. So when you're running through, it's the only mob in there that you need to kill, like the only Twilight mob that has a leash. So if you pull the whole thing, you're running through, revealing them and pulling the whole thing, and you gather your group at the end, there might be only 1 or 2 ogres in there. And when you AoE down, you're going to be like 12% short. So then you need to go back and kill like 4 ogres individually. So it's a massive pain in the ass, and it prevents you from doing the whole delve in one pull. So it prevents it from being fast, and it prevents it from being fun. So it's going to get no points from me for that. If they fix that issue, we can revisit this, but I doubt they will. So for now, no fun, no points for speed either. In terms of difficulty, yeah, I mean, no real issues here. I guess spoiler, most of the difficulty, unless I can think of something, is going to just get a point, because I don't think any of the delves were particularly difficult, but I'm just going to give it a 1. And obviously we just discussed vibes. So Collegiate Calamity with a nice score here. It's got 6 points. 1, 2, 4, and 6. Next up is Darkway. So Darkway is, of course, the other one in Silvermoon City. It's right near the docks. So will not be given a point for being in the city, because it's not like really in the city, and it's not like the zone itself. When you go into the delve, it's not a part of the city. In fact, it's actually a reused zone, which some people dislike. I actually think that's kind of nice. I like when they reuse old areas for delves. It's a good opportunity to do it, and it's a fun throwback. I know some people might get some, like PTSD from Arkway, but I actually did enjoy it. So first we got Ogre Power. This is the famous one here. Previously the fastest delve until I found some new tech and some new damage optimizations in Gulf of Memory. And unfortunately, Gulf of Memory is now smoking the Darkway pack. It's beating the fuck out of it in terms of speed, but still an A tier, so it's still very fast. So that will be getting 1 point. Next we have Focuses Under Pressure. It's a C tier. Going to give it a point. And then last we have, where is it here? Leyline Technician. This one's really slow, not very good, so that will not be getting a point. In terms of fun, honestly, I'm going to be giving all 3 of these fun points. And for one specific reason. Those leyline beams with the circles around them, the fact that you can use those to kill mobs, I think is actually super fun. So you can just pull anything in there and it'll slowly kill the mob. Well, I mean, not really slowly, to be honest. In a tier 11, it'll kill an elite in like 5 seconds. So Just the fact that it has this is so sick. So I'm going to give all three of them points right off rip just for that. In terms of difficulty, I mean, it's so easy with the beams that I just mentioned. You could almost argue giving it no points because it's so egregiously easy. But I'm not going to be like that. It's fine. We'll just give it 1 point. In terms of vibes, I'm actually going to give it no points. I don't really like the vibe in there. It's literally just the Darkway. And I know I just mentioned that I like when they do throwbacks and reuse old zones, but it's like the whole thing is reused. It's like, oh, ley lines and focusing crystals and this and that. Like the whole thing is reused. It's not that it's bad, but it didn't really do anything for me. So I'm not gonna give it any points for vibes. It's like pretty dark in there. I mean, no shit. It's called the fucking Darkway, right? But not a massive fan of the vibes in there, so I'm just not gonna give it any points. So overall, we got a 6 for Darkway. Next up is Grudge Pit. So this is the one in Harrendar. It's the Fungarian fighting ring in the east of Harrendar. Famous in the preseason of Midnight Season 1 for farming Valeera XP, because Bountifuls were not out yet, and the mislaid Curiosities were super compact in here. So the way this works, since Grudge Pit is so small, all the things that have like a spawn allocation for a certain number of things to spawn, they're all super dense, right? So mining nodes, just gathering nodes in general, Nemesis packs, mislaid Curiosities. Since the physical area of Grudge Pit is so small, these spawn super close by, and it's really good if you want to particularly farm those things. So for speed, unfortunately though, it's really bad. The fastest variant is Arena Champion here, so that's a D tier, and the other two are F. So unfortunately, we'll be getting no points. In terms of fun though, I am gonna give kind of like Darkway, all three of them points for fun for a sort of neutral reason that's neutral and applies to all three variants. And it's basically the one that I mentioned before. Everything is so compact that you can run in, pull the entire room, AoE everything down, and then from there you're done with stacking up your mandate because all the gathering nodes are really close. You're done with stacking up Ebon Crown if you're using Ebon Crown because all the Curiosities are so close. And you're also done with the Nemesis packs because all four of them are right there. And you can grab the rare and get the power from the rare. So it is just really fun doing that. And to top it off, I love the Fungarians. This is more of a vibes thing, but they sort of play into the humor aspect of it. So this delve is like pretty funny. There's a lot of good humor in there. So I do really like being in here. It's fun. There's a lot of like cool niche things you can do, like I said, with collecting all the different things around the area. And it's just a lot of fun. Big pulls, just get your brain going, Neuron activation when you do a big pull. That's how it goes. In terms of difficulty, I mean, it's not super difficult, but if you quadruple pull a Nemesis pack, which is the easiest to accidentally do in Grudge Pit because everything's so close, that can be difficult, but you don't really have to do that. You can avoid it if need be, so I'm just going to give it a point. In terms of vibes, the vibes are so good, I'm actually going to go a little unorthodox here, and I'm going to give it 1.5 points, just because the Fungarian stuff is so funny. It's genuinely, I genuinely love the Fungarian stuff. It's like one of the objectives in one of the variants. I think it's Arena Champion actually is. It just says beat stuff up and you have to fill a bar. So huge fan of the vibes here. So much so I'm gonna give it half a point extra. So if we add them up, we got 3, 4, and 5.5 for Grudge Pit. While I'm thinking about it, I'm actually gonna just put some brackets around these just so I can see them easier for later when I'm tallying them up. But next up we got Gulf of Memory. So this is the one in the northwest-ish of Harrendar. It's just like a cave in the ground. A lot of variation with what you're doing in the variants. So got some good variety there. But in terms of speed, obviously the standout winner here is Sporosaur Special. It's 12 seconds faster than the next fastest delve, so it's actually windmill dunking on it. It's the second fastest variant ever, If you go to War Within Season 3, it's faster than all that glitters. And believe me, I tried to optimize the ever-loving fuck out of all that glitters. I think I have over 300 clears of Side Street Slews. Unfortunately, still kind of getting gappied by Pheromone Fury, but it is the second fastest delve variant ever. So it will be getting some special recognition for that. So in terms of speed, I'm going to be giving that variant 1.5 points. Sorry, that was in Grudge Pit. Here. 1.5 points, just because it's so particularly fast. It's not only the fastest delve, it's the fastest delve by a mile, and it's also the only S tier delve this expansion thus far. Fortunately, that's kind of where it ends, though. Next up, we got All-Moth Munchies. Kind of a sad story with this one. This one used to be exceptionally fast on beta. So the way this one works, the objective is, fill the bar, kill mobs, and then you have to clear like 100 flowers or whatever. There's flowers like all over the ground, and you get this extra action button that does a big AoE swirl around you, and the swirl lasts 6 seconds, and you just press the button, and it's just like an effect around you. It's not like a channel or a cast, so you can move, use your abilities, all that while it's going. It does a lot of damage, and it clears the flowers. Unfortunately, on beta, this had it was either no cooldown or the cooldown was shorter than its duration, so it effectively had 100% uptime. So it was really fast and actually pretty fun. So you could go through, just run through, have the ability up 100% of the time. As you're running, you're cleaving down mobs with your abilities and the AoE, and you're also running over the flowers and destroying the flowers. But now, at some point in beta, and it is this way on live, the All-Moth Storm ability, which is that thing I was just talking about, that has a 12-second cooldown. It has a 6-second duration, so there's 6 seconds of downtime in between, and oftentimes what happens is, like, you can't really leave, like, you find yourself standing around in between each cast because there's not a ton of wiggle room for extra count and extra flowers. So, like, in total, so I believe there's 100 flowers you need to kill, and I think in total there might be, like, 140. So if you're just using it willy-nilly and just running through, you're going to have to backtrack and get some of the ones you ran past. So, and since there's downtime in between, you're going to find yourself standing around a lot. So for that unfortunately really kind of ruined this variant, so it's not fast at all. And then Descent of the Heronir, pretty slow as well. That's the one with the candles. It's like a throwback to the War Within with like the Nerubian mobs and the webs and stuff. So Gulf of Memory will be staying at 1.5 points, carried, of course, by Spore Shore Special. In terms of fun, no real consensus. There's a lot of variety in this one. There's no consensus across the three that would make all three fun, so I'm just going to go one by one. Spore Shore Special, fun, of course. Besides it being fast, I really like the gameplay of kicking the spores. I think that's cool. And I like that you can, there's like route optimizations you can do, even outside of speed, like being able to bridge the gap, and the fact there's 4 Spore Swords when you only need 3. There's route optimizations you can do there to make it fast and more efficient, so that'll get a point from me. Next one is All-Moth Munchies. No points. If this was the way it was on beta, good chance that one would be maybe the most fun variant in the whole game. It would basically be like Invasive Glow if the bomb had like a 10-second cooldown. Like, just think about how ass that would be. That's basically what they did to All-Moth Munchies, so no points for me. Descent of the Heronir, though, even though this is really slow, I do like this variant a lot. It's a fun throwback to the War Within. There's the Nerubians with their webs, but fortunately no Bran to warn us about them, so who's to say what you could do about it without Bran there to tell you. So there's, it's a throwback. There's kobolds, there's old god minions, and there's, candles and candlelight, so it's just a nice throwback to the War Within. So I'm going to give that 2 points. Give it a point for the fun, because I just like it. It's cool. The boss is decent too. The boss is different in this one versus the other two, so plus points. In terms of difficulty, none of them are particularly difficult. They're all fairly normal, so let's give it a point. And then in terms of vibes, I'm going to give it half a point, because it is just like a cave, kind of. The vibes... Sorry, that's the wrong one. That's in Parhelion Plaza. That's up next. So the vibes are decent. They're not awful, but they're not super spectacular. I'd say the main source of vibes in here is Descent of the Heronir. I love the I love the War Within throwbacks with like the Kobolds and the Nerubians, so I'll be giving it a point for that. So in total we got 0.5, 1.5 is 2, 4, 5, and we got 5 points for Gulf of Memory. So the next one is Parhelion Plaza. This is the one that's like an outdoor section of Isle of Kel'Danas. It's of course on Isle of Kel'Danas, so it's one of the outdoor delves. You can mount inside of it, and it was released later in the patch with the raid March on Kel'Danas. I have some opinions on the staggered release of delves, but talk about that later. In terms of speed, there's only really one thing to talk about here. It's holding the line. It's the fourth fastest variant this season. There's a pretty big gap between 4 and 5, but it is just squeezed into A tier by 0.02 seconds, so still get a point either way, but thought I'd note that. It will get a point. Fortunately, the other two are ass. It's the two of the slowest variants, and one of them is actually over 3 minutes. So that's not good. That's very slow. So I will not be giving that any points. In terms of fun, Parhelion Plaza holding the line is fun because there's a lot of route optimizations. Even if you're not going fast, the routes can be for like efficiency, general efficiency, right? There's so many, like the count of mobs. So it's a fill the bar and then like interact with like 6 barricades or something like that. So there's, I believe, well over 15 barricades, and there's probably enough mobs to get 250% count. So there's a lot of different routes you can do, and there's a lot of good routes too. I went through a couple different iterations of the route for this while I was testing it, so before I ultimately landed on what I believe to be the best one. So I will be giving it a point for that, because I do find that that part of it pretty fun. March of the Arcane Brigade. This might be my least favorite variant, this expansion of any delve. So this is the one where you need to interact. Well, okay, I say that, but this one is also maybe the worst one, but we'll get that in a second. So March of the Arcane Brigade. This is the one where you need to interact with like arcane constructs, like those. They have the same model as like the delve mounts, like those robot construct guys. And you need to interact with them, and then they will power up, slowly walk over to these pylons, and then start attacking it. The issue is you need to like stick around to see if you've clicked enough of the constructs to destroy the pylons or like the spires or whatever it is, because like they die after a certain amount of time, or they have like an energy bar, and after that depletes they die. So like you could click them and then they're destroying it, and they're super slow at destroying it. So you could have left that area, and you come back and the pylon's on like 2% health. So you need to go find another robot, another construct to click so it can go and finish it off. So this one is really, really unfun, and genuinely I do kind of hate it. So I'll be giving it no points. Same thing with Bombing Run. I actually have a rant somewhere in a couple discords about this variant. I think it's so garbage. So it has like the cardinal sins of delves. It has every single one. It's got clickable things with long casts that get interrupted if you take damage or move. It's got things you need to carry that you drop if you take damage. It's got loading screens, and the area is gigantic. It does all 4 of those things. So combined, it's like absolutely disgusting. So I think this variant is horrific. Absolutely terrible. In terms of difficulty, nothing really to talk about there. It's fairly normal. In terms of vibes, I do like that it's outdoors. I like that it's themed like similarly with like what's going on in the Isle of Kel'Danas with the Devouring Host attacking and all that. So I will give it a point for vibes. I mean, in terms of like literal vibes, like obviously for me, if I'm doing partially Arcane Brigade or Bombing Run, my vibes are terrible because I'm not having any fun. But that is, I talked about that more so with the fun section, but the vibe section is mainly meant for like the aesthetics of the delve and whatnot. So I'll be giving it a point. I think it's fairly good in that regard. But pretty low score here, only 4 points for Parhelion Plaza. Next up is Shadow Enclave. So this is the one in the south of Eversong Woods. I believe it's the first delve that most people would do because it's part of the campaign. You have to enter it as part of the campaign pretty early on, so maybe people have stronger opinions about it, but regardless. In terms of speed, nothing super spectacular here. We got Trader's Due, which is a C tier, so that will get 1 point. And unfortunately, the rest are F tier, so that will be getting 0 points. In terms of fun, though, I have a lot to say here. So Trader's Due, I will be giving half a point. So there's this funny little quirk with Trader's Due. I don't know if it's intended or not, but so Trader's Due, you're going through. You have to kill ritualists, like disrupt a ritual. So you have to do this 4 different times. There's 4 normal, like just like fodder mobs around each ritual point. You kill them, and then it summons like the ritualist, like the main ritualist becomes attackable, and then once you kill the ritualist, like a void creature will spawn, and then you fight the void creature, and you do that 4 times, and then you fight the boss. But for some reason, I don't know if this is a bug, I reported it all the way back in beta. The boss, you can just fight the boss without doing any of the objectives. It does not affect the completion, but you can essentially do the delve backwards. So if you're able to bridge the gap at the beginning and jump across the chasm, you can just go literally just kill the boss and then do the delve backwards. So I don't know if that's intended, but it's in the game, and it's still in the game, even though I reported it. So I'm going to give it points for that. I'm going to give it half a point, just because I think that's pretty cool and pretty unique. It's not really super defining of the gameplay of it. I just think it's a cool quirk of the delve that I will be giving points for. In terms of Mirror Shine, I mean, I think this is one of the coolest variants they've made. That's the one with the mirrors. I've heard a lot of people say the mirror variant is really cool when they first see it, so I will be giving a point for that. It's cool that when mobs are in the light, they get a debuff that makes them take a lot more damage. So it's like there's gameplay involved with it rather than just doing the thing. Like the mirrors go over and through walls, so you can like kind of snipe the shadow nexuses from across the map with a mirror. Which I think is pretty cool. Just really cool mechanic. I'm gonna give that a point for fun. And then Shadowy Supplies is the one where you need to click stuff and collect like supplies. You get 30 of them and then you fight the boss. This one had a pretty large issue early on in the expansion. This didn't make it live, where the total Shadowy Supplies you could have gotten was super low. So I think you need 30, and I think the total maximum that you could get if you cleared everything, you cleared the entire delve, picked up everything that a mob dropped, and looted every single one, like the ones that are stationary, you got maybe 33. So it was super common to run through this thing, realize you missed like 1 or 2 somewhere, and have to go backtrack and find them. Luckily, that was hotfixed. Otherwise, this would be really bad. This would be a really bad variant, but it was hotfixed. Unfortunately, though, even with the hotfix, it's like the gameplay's not super compelling. It's very similar to Archival Assault, that one where you have to collect like artifacts. Some of them are stationary and you have to click them. Some of them just drop from mobs and you just pick them up by running over them. So it's not super compelling. It's not necessarily bad, but it's not like anything notable. So I'm not gonna give it any points. Difficulty, like I said with the other ones, is just pretty standard. There's nothing super noteworthy here or exceptionally difficult. So I'll give it a point. In terms of vibes, I'm gonna give it half a point. I do like the vibes. So in Shadowy Supplies, a lot of the items have fun flavor text. So if you ever pick up, like, there's a Xalatath portrait that you can, it's like a void disguise, and you pick it up, and it's like your character is holding a portrait of Xalatath in front of your face and walking around with it. So I think that's pretty funny. There's a lot of funny flavor text in there. And then of course anything goblin, I love the goblin vibe, which is Mirror Shine. So anything with goblins will get a plus for me, so I'll give it half a point there. But in general, like the overall vibe of the instance, like the map there. Not super intriguing. It's just a cave, right? I think the layout's neat. How it's like a circle. It's like a ring with a hole in the middle. But other than that, not too much to talk about. So I'm gonna tally it up here. I got 1, 2, and 4. So we'll get 4 points for Shadow Enclave. Now we got Shadowguard Point. So this is the one in Voidstorm. It's sort of in the. It's more. I'd say it's more probably around the center of the zone than the west, but it is technically in the west. But I'd say it's center west more so. It's an outdoor area. So it's just an outdoor section of the zone where on top of like a plateau where a lot of the Shadowguard ethereals are doing their nonsense. So in terms of speed, not a lot going on here. There's one variant that just barely snuck in here by 0.09 seconds, a Calamitous. So I'll be giving it a point for that. The other two are terrible. We got Shadowguard Point. So we got Stolen. This is the worst variant in terms of speed, this expansion. We got Stolen Mana. And then we got Capture Wildlife with F. So in terms of speed, not a lot going on there. Calamitous, I was able to optimize his route enough to get it just within C tier. This is the one where you need to run through. I mean, I'd say most people probably know this one for the leveling stuff. This one is really good for leveling in the preseason. You could just like, because the way this works is you walk in and you have to kill like a little mini boss guy, and then like you click a little portal and it'll take you to another section of the delve. But right at that beginning section, there's a ton of elites that you're not really meant to attack. Like they're not part of the objective. But if you want to, you could go in there and pull the whole room and AoE it down, and it was pretty good for leveling early on in the preseason. But that one is fairly fast. And then afterwards, after you click the portal, you got to go through and like dunk these like energy orbs into portals, and then they blow up, and then you go fight the boss. So in terms of fun, here we go. Yeah, Shadowguard Point. I actually really like Calamitous. I think the gameplay's fun. It's very active. Like you're running around, and when the portals explode, they damage mobs and they stun them. So you can accomplish multiple things at once. You know, you tick off a portal objective by blowing up one of the portals. You also damage mobs, which helps fill the bar. And I think the gameplay is just pretty fun here. So I'm gonna give Calamitous 1 point, and then obviously it gets some of this is the fact that it's good for leveling. That's pretty good too. This was a pretty popular strategy early on, so I'm gonna give it some notes for that as well. Captured Wildlife. I'm gonna give this one half a point. I don't particularly like it, but I think it has some niche little quirks. Actually, I'm gonna give it 0.25. I don't like it that much, right? Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. But so Capture Wildlife, it's the one where you have to go around and click the little pylons or like cages that have the some of the wildlife imprisoned. And what I like about it, the little quirk, is that when you free them, the wildlife runs off and starts attacking the ethereals. So it leads to some interesting gameplay. So the first stage of the objective is, freeing the animals, but the second section is you have to like throw worm bait on some of the ethereals, like the ethereal like channelers or whatever they are, and a big giant worm will come out of the ground and eat them. But there's also captured animals in that section. So what you can do is you can just, even though it's not part of the objective and they're not highlighted anymore, you can go through and free those animals, and those animals will still run around and attack the ethereals. So I think that is pretty neat. So I'm going to give it a little bit of points for that. And then Stolen Mana, I mean, this one's not particularly bad. It's just so long. Like, it takes so long to do this one. Yeah, and I know I said I'm not going to, in terms of fun, I'm not going to really talk about speed, but I think this one is so slow, it's to a detriment. Like, it is so slow. It takes so long. There's nothing particularly egregious about the gameplay other than it's just so slow. So I'm not going to be giving it any points. And even, like, The speed I don't even think is holding it back too much. Even if this was like a normal speed, like if this, I don't know, like 2 minutes or something, there's nothing notable or super fun about it anyways. The extra action button doesn't do a ton of damage. Um, there's some clicking stuff that gets interrupted when you take damage, so fairly average in that regard, other than the fact that it's super slow, so I'm not going to be giving it any points regardless. Difficulty, I mean, again, not much to talk about there. It's fine. There's nothing super egregious here. In terms of vibes, I'm going to give it half a point. I do like ethereal stuff. It's an outdoor zone, so you can mount, which is cool. I like that it uses a lot of like environmental stuff. So, like, in all three variants, you can use sort of things specific to the variant to do extra damage. Like I said, with Capture Wildlife, the wildlife you're freeing will go attack the ethereals. In Calamitous, the exploding portals will damage mobs. And then in Stolen Mana, your extra action button will do damage. And then if you use the extra action button on one of the large mana batteries, the explosion that does will also damage the mobs if they're standing in it. So I think that is cool. I think that like sort of fits the theme of the ethereals with like using these like radically dangerous energies, and I think it just fits the zone and it fits the theme well for the ethereal. So I'm gonna give it half a point. So little funky score here, but we got 1, 2, 3, and then 7.5. So 3.75. Unfortunately, it is just a victim of the fact that it is so egregiously slow. Next up, we got Sunkiller Sanctum. So this is the one also in Voidstorm. I think it's sort of in the north. Again, this one's pretty close to the center as well. It's northeast slightly, but it's just like a cave or like facility inside of a mountain, like cliff face. So aesthetics are pretty cool, but in terms of speed, not a ton going on here. We got Sunkiller Sanctum, which is a pretty decent one. It's seventh fastest here. So I'll be giving that a point. That's the one where you need to run over the batteries or the little mana cores or whatever they are. In terms of the other two, though, not a ton to talk about. We got Sunkiller Sanctum. Here we go. Not what I expected. Again, firmly D tier, so no points there. And then Gravitational Effect. Although this one is cool, which I'll talk about later, not very fast. For fun, again, there's not a ton that ties each individual one together, so nothing to give a broad sweeping points to. But I will be going through each one individually here. So, core of the problem, I do like this variant. I like the fact that it's sort of centered around this buff that you have to keep up. Not that it's hard to keep up. It has a 60-second duration and refreshes constantly, but it will, at max tax, you're literally going at 50% extra speed and taking 50% less damage, and you can carry it into the boss. So you're just sprinting through. It makes tier 11s easy, like way easier, and it's just going fast rather is always fun. So definitely get a point for me. Next we got Not What I Expected. This one I think I'll give it half a point. I think it's sort of fun. It's got another movement speed component. There's a buff you can get that just gives you extra movement speed, and it has like a copy, like a visage of yourself fighting alongside you. The Void and the Light theme, like it's got Light Bloom and Void creatures fighting each other. I think that's pretty cool. So in terms of fun, that one's not too bad. And I like when they shake up the boss fights, where this one you have to fight like 3 sort of beefed up like Light Bloom creatures rather than a boss. So I think that's kind of neat. So I'll give that half a point. And Gravitational Effect, I actually do really like this delve of this variant as well. That's the one where you have the micro singularities where you can like grapple to them and sort of fly through the air and traverse the delve super easily. So I will be giving that a point. So a lot of points for fun in Sunkiller Sanctum. I think they have a lot of interesting mechanics here. I maybe would have considered giving it an extra half a point in general if the Stormarian Assault, if you've ever done that, which you probably have, you'll remember that around the area there are like the defenses you need to set up around the Stormarian Citadel, and it's like these things you put Stormarian cores into, which turn into a defense node. So there's like the Black Eye or whatever it is that will shoot mobs with like magic and damage them. There's the Shock Pylon, which will slow them and do damage, and all those things. So there's, I believe, I don't know what the intention was here, but there's supposed to be one inside Sunkiller Sanctum. However, it very rarely shows up, and it almost never works. Actually, that's not true. It literally never works. Even if you see it, if you put your cores into it, nothing will happen. It just does not work. So I think if this worked 100% of the time and it was always up and it actually functioned, potentially give it an extra half a point here, but unfortunately it just doesn't work, and it's just a wasted opportunity in my opinion. I did report it, but not fixed, unfortunately. In terms of difficulty, again, nothing super egregious here, so I'll just give it a point. For vibes, I'm gonna give it a 1 actually. I'm gonna give it some points here. So it's got a lot of each individual variant I think has a lot of redeeming qualities, right? Like it really plays into the craziness of the void energies and stuff, like with the anti-gravity stuff where you're flying around. It's one of the only delves, might be the only delve actually with flight paths, which is really cool. So it's got a plus points for me there, that it's got flight paths, which is really cool. So you're teleporting around. I believe that's core of the problem. And it's just each variant is super unique, and it's got a lot of redeeming qualities. So I'm gonna give it points for vibes. And I like the name is sick. Sunkiller Sanctum is sick. The area itself is not super amazing. It's nice. I do like it. It's got an area with exposed rocks, exposed crystals, so that's cool. It's not amazingly standout, but I think the main strength in terms of vibes is the individual mechanics and how they play in with the zone and the mobs within this delve. So great score for Sunkiller Sanctum here. We got 1, 2, 3, and 5.5. So Sunkiller Sanctum, that gets a 5.5. Next up is Twilight Crypts. So this is the one in the south of Zul'Aman. It's basically just a crypt with the Twilight Hammer in it. It's pretty self-explanatory in the name there. It is indoors, and so not mountable. But in terms of speed, a couple of interesting ones to talk about. We got Party Crashers here. That's a B tier, so I will be giving that a point. That's the one where you literally just need to run through. You could just basically just run through the whole thing and do that. Trapped is also not super fast, but it's a C tier, so it's enough to get a point, so I'll give it 2 points. And then the other one, somewhere around here, Twilight Crypts. Loose Loa, unfortunately not very fast. It's nearly an F tier, so no points in that regard. In terms of fun, though, honestly, I'm not a massive fan of this delve. I think it having the levers with the spike traps is an interesting mechanic, but more often than not, I find it just is kind of annoying. So not a big fan of it. I do like that they have a lot of the clickables that they do in Atal'Aman. So the stuff that you can click and get buffs, there's one you can click to get a shadow damage proc. This is when you can click to summon a little spirit skeleton guy to fight with you. So that's pretty interesting. But for each variant, Trapped, so where is it? Party Crasher. So again, there's not a ton interesting here. I'll give it a point just because there's some interesting routing you can do. But I'm not in love with this. I think it's just it's enough to get a point, I think, but I'm not crazy about it. Trapped. I mean, this one, these are all so similar. I'll give it half a point, but it is kind of marred by the spike trap mechanic. I really dislike it. I do like that you can get on the roof though if you have a double jump, so that is cool. Sort of a mild redeeming factor. And then again, same deal with Loose Loa. This one is interesting, but I find that. So it's one of those things where a mob, a big unattackable mob is running through. It's sort of like that one in it's one of those Nerubian delves where the guys sprint through, and as they run over mobs, the mobs take damage. But this one doesn't do a ton of damage, and it's not really a big threat either. So doesn't add a ton, but is a little interesting. I'm not gonna give this one any points just because The routing options are not super great, and again, the whole thing is kind of just spoiled with the spike traps. It's an interesting idea. I don't know if it was. I don't really have any ideas or tips for them on how to make it like fun, I guess, but in practice, it did just turn out to be a little annoying. I do like the idea, but I don't think it worked out super well. So I'm just going to give 1.5 points total for fun here. In terms of difficulty, again, like I said, nothing egregious, stand out, so they'll get a point. And then in terms of vibes, I'm actually just going to give it no points. The vibes are identical in all three of the delves, all three of the variants. It's like, I think it's like kind of neat that you're in like a crypt, and in patch 12.0.5 they changed something about like the lighting in there. It's like pretty dark in there now, so I think that's cool, but other than that, it's just it does feel pretty samey in each variant. And then you're just like inside. It's like it's a cramped, it's a crypt that's like really cramped, and there's just not a lot going on. It's like troll slash Twilight's Hammer themed, which like it's fine, but I'm not in love with it. So total here, I'm gonna tally these up. We got 2, 3, and 4.5. So Twilight Crypts for our last one gets a 4.5. So that was the last delve. So we can actually start ranking them now, like totaling them up and all that. So for speed, we'll do that first. We got 1, 3, 5, 6, 7.5, 8.5, 9.5, 10.5, 11.5, and 13.5. So that's the total score for speed. For fun, we have 1.5, 3.5, 6.5, 9.5, 11.5, 12.5, 14. These two will add up to 4. So we got 18. And we got 19.25. So fun gets a 19.25 out of 30. Difficulty, just that's a 10 out of 10. I gave everything 1. And then for vibes, we got 1, 2, 3.5, 4, 5, 5.5, 6, and 7. So we got a 7 out of 10 on vibes, and we add them up. We get 7 plus 19.25 plus 10 plus 13.5. So the Dells get a 49.75 out of 80. That's our first category done. So with that out of the way, that's like probably the bulk of the list in terms of like how long that would take, but I just want to be super granular with the individual delves because I think that does matter, you know, like I could say, oh, just 13.5 out of 30 is the total speed, but like I think it's good to see that broken down into the individual parts. So I did that there. And then for next category here, we got loot. So I'm not going to be super granular with these like I was with the delves. I'm just going to like general high level overview. So I got the main like notable loot here. So I guess like the main story of this season is that like so many of the trinkets are just fucking garbage. Like I'm going to go through them here. Garbage, 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 good, garbage, 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 like giga garbage, 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 garbage. And then these 2 swords are garbage, and then as far as I know, the staff is just in the staff. If you look here, it's just like crit mastery. So I mean, if you like crit mastery, it's fine. But I mean, this effect is like fake. It's just a little flavor banish. Doesn't really do it. It's got a 5-minute cooldown, so not really a DPS thing or anything. It's just a little bonus effect. So I mean, this is fine if you like crit mastery, but yeah, the effect doesn't really do anything. So like the loot, the trinkets, I'm gonna honestly give like a 5 out of 10. It's like I like so this is the delve specific loot. However, you could make an argument for like these world slash prey trinkets. So particularly the drums of renewed bonds, the drum of renewed bonds. So that's the one that you can like tune to a specific secondary stat, and it's like a proc for a big hit of the secondary stat. That's not a delve specific item. However, you can get it from prey, or sorry, you get it from the vault and maps, and from the gear vendor. So I am gonna include them in there, so that's why I am giving it a 5 out of 10 because there's a couple of decent ones in there like Fiber of Living Agony, Drum of Renewed Bond, and those. But by and large, the trinkets are absolutely garbage. So I'm gonna call this 5 out of 10, just complete trash. And the rare cantrips, I think it's cool. I like that they did this instead of like what they did in the previous seasons of the War Within, where the only cantrip items were just like rare drops from Neleus or that season's equivalent of Neleus. These are just rare drops that can proc in your delve. So like you can just like randomly get these at like champion or hero tier depending on the delve tier. So I do like that. So I will give it some points. I think the set of swords here, I'll show you. So there's Abyss Saber and Radiant Foil. So Abyss Saber, your attacks and abilities have a high chance to deal a little bit of void damage, and it stacks up a void tear. And then this one has a low chance to do some holy damage, and then it cleans all the debuffs that you stacked up from Abyss Saber and does like a smack of damage per stack. Obviously, this damage value is super low just because it's listed at item level 44. And then the two set is your Abyss Saber applies twice as many void tears. So I do think it's interesting. I like the effects. They're pretty weak, but I do like it. I think it might people might not like it so much if they were good because these are like super hard to get. They're just really rare drops. So in theory, I do like it. However, they're pretty weak. So I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10 because I do like this significantly more than the old version where it's just a rare drop that you get from killing Neleus or that, like I said, that season's equivalent of Elias. So, like, think the Befouler's Syringe from Zekvir. It's like you could only get it from Zekvir, and it's just like that's it. It's not really like a factor in the gearing. But with these, you can get these as like bonus rolls. So I do like that. So I will be giving that a 7 out of 10. So we got 12 out of 10 for the total here. And then next up is the Nemesis fight. So this is obviously Neleus. This is the like Dominar guy that you'll fight as part of the just like he's the shoe-in Nemesis for this season. He has the like in delve invasions. He's got his little Nemesis pack guys, and he's you actually have to fight him in his own delve. I won't be talking about the Hall of Fame. That's more of a subjective thing, but I'll be talking about it down here. But for this, just be talking about these things. So the actual fight I think was kind of ass. Not gonna lie. So I'm gonna give that a 7 out of 20 because it's literally just like a white hit simulator. If you're not, even if you're playing tank, he kind of doesn't really do anything. But especially if you're not playing tank, he really doesn't do anything because. So if you're playing DPS, for example, there's two mechanics that he does himself. So he does the he puts a dot on you, which you have to play healer or Valeera because Valeera will instantly dispel the dot. So that mechanic basically doesn't exist because he casts it, you get a dot, and within like half a second it gets dispelled. You don't even take a tick of the damage. So that mechanic basically doesn't exist. So that's just not really a real mechanic. And then the other one is he has a cast you have to kick. So the whole fight, if you're DPS, is just surviving white hits and kicking it, and then kicking a cast every like 20 or whatever it is seconds. And then he has some ads that you have to deal with. And then the ads also don't really do anything. They just do damage, right? Obviously, them doing damage is a thing. It puts you on like health pressure, and you need to like do stuff to survive and kill them in time, so you're not fighting all three at once, and that might get scary. But like overall, like nothing. There's no real like imperative to kill stuff. Like with Zekvir, for example, which is the boss in season 1 of the War Within. Like if you didn't kill the egg hatched and spawned an ad which would just spam cast something that just stunned you for like 4 seconds. So like you had to save your burst for it. But like with these guys, like the first set of guys will just summon. He just summons like 2 like beasts or whatever the hell they are, and they just put a dot on you. The dot hurts, but you're not gonna lose if you get the dot. Matter of fact, you could probably heal through it on a couple classes, or if you're playing tank. So, and then the same thing with the imps. They just put a dot on you, or like the little. They're not imps. They're like little critter crawlers things, and they just like put a poison dot in you and it'll like auto attack you. And then the ogre will. The third guy is like just an ogre who casts Shadow Bolt, which doesn't do any damage. So they're just kind of there. They don't really have any mechanics or like anything interesting tied to them. So I'm not really a huge fan of the fight. It was fun doing it in super low gear. So I did get Delve Hall of Fame. I did it at I think like 243 eye level or something. I did it on Vengeance. Of course, with the White Hit Simulator, Vengeance is always harder, or Tank is always way easier than anything else except Healer. But you could cheese this on a couple Healer classes. And if you're playing Tank, he does a Tank Buster, so the whole fight on Tank is just have a defensive for every Tank Buster, and then that's the fight. So I don't find that fight particularly interesting. I do think the Nemesis packs are quite good, though. I think the like the crawler guys, like the worms, I think those are interesting. So I'm gonna give 5 points for those. I like their set of mechanics where they will slow you and then put shit in the ground. So it's like a little combo where it's harder to dodge because you're slowed. I like that. So there's the two large guys. There's like the flyer, which does the fear circle in a kick. That guy's fine. I'll just give him 5 points for that. And then there's the large like Ultradon guy. He's fine. He does a couple different mechanics that I think are fine, so I'll give him 5 points for that. The only one I'm not going to give 5 points to is the Hounds, the Hound packs. I think those are... I don't really like the gameplay pattern there, so they cast Rupturing Bite. So it does a lot of upfront damage each hit, and it also puts a heavy dot on you. So what happens is, like, the main issue is that they don't stagger the casts of Rupturing Bite, so all three of them will cast Rupturing Bite unless you, like, desync them with, like, a stun or something, and that's sort of the gameplay pattern, is, like, basically you just sit in melee if you're a melee player, and you attack them, and when all three of them start casting Rupturing Bite at once, you either, like, kite back so you're out of range, or you will, like, stun one or two of them, so you, like, desync their cast of Rupturing Bite, because if you get 3 stacks of Rupturing Bite all at once, that dot is going to tick for, like, 30% of your HP, so it hurts a lot. So I don't think that was particularly well thought out, so I'm going to duck 2 points for that, but overall, I think the Nemesis minions were pretty great this season. Like, you actually had to think about it, and it wasn't just, like super cringe or anything, like it was in War Within Season 1. In the Nemesis Invasion, I think this was pretty weak, not going to lie. Just going to give it half points here. So all he does is he spawns in, he kind of doesn't do anything for like 2 or 3 seconds, then he starts casting the shield like he does in the intermissions of his actual fight, and then he spawns the 2 ads, like the first set of ads that he spawns during the fight, he'll spawn those 2, and then when you kill them, he just leaves and goes away. So you don't really get any... I mean, you do, right? Like, I was going to say you don't get a glimpse of his mechanics, but that's kind of the issue. He doesn't really have any. So, yeah, the Invasion, I think, is pretty weak. I think he could have done something a little more interesting, so I'm not a big fan of it, but I'm going to tally these up here. We got 23, 30, so we got 30 out of 50 for Nemesis packs and the Nemesis overall, so kind of carried by the Nemesis minions here. And then next we got bugs, so I got a whole section here for bugs, so we can scroll over there. In terms of frequency, and by frequency I mean like the frequency in which you encounter these bugs, it's actually pretty low, so I'm going to give it a good score. I'm going to give it an 8. The main ones that were annoying are, like, not a big deal. Like, for example, like, a rare spawn being... Like, a lot of these bugs are actually, like, if you look at it from a purely gameplay perspective, are actually, like, good. Like this one, like, a rare spawn will sometimes die. Like, it's already dead when you load into a delve. Like, you just load in, and the thing's dead. So, like, that... Obviously, it's not good that it's bugged, but, like, this is actually nice, I guess, because you load in, you don't need to kill it. You can just pick up a power for free, right? So, like, some of these are... Like, there's a lot listed here, but the frequency in which you actually encounter these on a regular basis is fairly low. So, and the ones that you do encounter a lot were fixed. So, for example, like the coffer keys that you purchase for rank 6, that was only active for like half a day. This got fixed almost immediately. Like, there was briefly, like, this might be still happening for some people, but as far as I know, this is fixed, where, like, there was, like, a visual bug where, like, your companion window would show you Bran instead of Valeera. There is one that I think is particularly annoying where, like, Valeera's role and selected Curios will reset, so sometimes you'll just be doing a delve and wondering why, like, she's doing nothing. It's because has no role and no Curios selected. So I think this one's still active, so this one is pretty bad. But other than that, I mean, these are like not super common. There's a lot of like individual bugs, but they're all like fairly niche. So I'm gonna give that a pretty good score on the frequency. Of the severity, I'm not gonna give it a. I'm gonna give it like a 6, because most of these are fairly minor. But there's a couple that are like really really bad. Um like this one. This one I recently encountered. So when I mentioned like in the Nemesis invasion inside the Delve when he spawns, if you manage to kill him before he shields up and spawns his minions, he will drop a cache, but the cache is like fucked, and it won't contain your Delver's bounty if you haven't gotten it for the week, even though it should. And then if that happens, it like consumes your chance to get the bounty for the week, and you just don't get a bounty that week anymore. So I was just like doing this for science, right? I did this in Darkway, and I killed him using the pylon, and he just died, and I didn't get anything. I didn't get the bounty, and then I was unable to get a bounty that week, like going forward. They did like kind of fix this, but like not really. So I don't know if this specifically is still in the game, but what they did is they made it so he has like way more health. Like he has like an absurd amount of health, so you can't like accidentally kill him before. He had like a low amount of health before, so you could theoretically accidentally kill him if you just had like a disgusting amount of burst. But now this is pretty much impossible to kill him before he shields up, so you could sort of consider this fixed. It's more like a band-aid, but this one is pretty bad, for example. Um, the Nemesis mobs spawning in inaccessible areas of the Delve. This one's bad because if you're farming Delver's Journey, you have to kill the Nemesis mobs. So if some of them spawn in inaccessible areas, you're kind of just screwed. Like Parhelion Plaza is particularly bad for this. It doesn't. They don't even spawn for Parhelion Plaza in like inaccessible areas. So I think about for example, like in a Delve, certain variants have you like visiting other sections of the map, while some of them are locked off, and you like they're only available in certain like variants. For so that can happen where like regular areas you're supposed to be visiting in other variants will contain the rare spawns and the Nemesis mob spawns. But for Parhelion Plaza specifically, I don't know what's going on with that one, but they just like spawn under the map in the center of the Delve, and that area is inaccessible in all three variants. So that shit's super fucking annoying, and this has happened to me multiple times. So this is annoying as fuck for sure. Mandate Sacred Death has been bugged as fuck. Luckily, it's still insanely broken, so like even through the bugs, it's still really good. But yeah, there's like a lot of like really bad. And this one is hilarious. I like refrained from talking about this until it was fixed, because this is like really bad. So early on in the season, if you look, if you open, like if you use a tier token inside a delve, so like if you go to raid, you win a tier token item, and you go to a delve and you use it, it just like gained extra eye level for no reason. So if you look at this, right, like you have an 8 out of 6 champion item, that's 269, and you have a heroic item that's 282. So it just like randomly gained 2 steps, like 2 extra upgrade tracks for no reason. Like this is like the funniest shit. So this was fixed a while ago, and I did refrain from reporting this just until that was fixed, because that's like pretty fucked and like kind of basically just like an exploit. But that was something that happened that was like really bad. So I'm not gonna give an amazing score for that, but most of the bugs were fairly low impact, so we'll get points for that. Turnaround, I'm gonna give it like a 2. Like they almost never fix delve bugs, to be honest. Like even from beta, not a lot of these were fixed. Like let's see. So these two were pre-patch. That's not really midnight, so we're not gonna count those. This was fixed. This was fixed. So these amounts were fixed here. So they only really fix like really bad bugs, like Beacon of Hope just not working at all in Gulf of Memory. This one I reported on beta. It did take them a while to fix it, but they did eventually fix it. The only one with like really good turnaround time here was purchasing coffer keys for rank 6 of the Delver's Journey. All these took a while to fix. Like this tier token one, this one even took like a week to fix, even though this is like probably the worst one on here. This is like game breaking, right? So they did fix that one, but it took them a while. So I wasn't super impressed with the turnaround time on these bugs at all. So I'm gonna give them a fairly low score on that. Then overall impact, I mean, this is just like day to day, like how much of your gameplay is affected by bugs when you're doing delves. I'm gonna give this is sort of similar to frequency. I'm just gonna give this a good score. I'm gonna give this a 7, just because like it's like a combination of frequency and severity. So it's like 8 and 7, 8 and 6, so 7. Um, it's just the impact wasn't very high. There were a couple niche bugs that were like really bad, like this one, for example. Adoring fans and fan favorites will stay unattackable. So the way this works is when you first enter Grudge Pit, like the instance loads, they're orange. Like the mobs are orange, so like they're hostile. They're not hostile, but they're not neutral or friendly either. Like you can't attack them. They're like unfriendly, right? So if you enter and you run in too fast and start attacking stuff, they will just stay unattackable and like unfriendly, and you literally can't complete the delve. You'll have to restart it. So like stuff like that's really bad. But this is super uncommon and like kind of a niche like circumstance. So overall, I'm gonna give the impact a pretty good score. So if we add these up, we got 8, 10, 17, 23. So we got 23 out of 40. So pretty decent score on the bugs there. Next up is powers. These are just like the like little Torghast-ish type powers you can pick up in the delve. So super quick. This is just like I'm just gonna give 2.5 points for each one if it's good or not. Like let's go quick. So there's this clever girl one. This is just you just get a every so often you'll just get like a Saptor to attack. It's fine. I'm gonna give it like 2 points. It's not like amazing, but whatever. Pangolin time. This one's pretty funny. I actually like this one a lot. It's just you get movement speed when you're out of combat and while you're moving. But like your character is rolling around on the ground like a pangolin, so I'm gonna give it some point. I'm gonna give it points. Banshee Whale is just like stupid. I'm only gonna give it half a point. So I'm gonna give it 5. It's just like does an AoE fear. It's like super annoying kind of garbage. And then Sentinel Gauntlets is broken as fuck, so that's gonna get 2.5 points. So 7.5. And then just like a brief note on the powers here, like not super interesting or like impactful, really, aside from the Sentinel Gauntlets if you're a crit class. But these were just they're fine. I do wish they played a bigger part. Not like some people want Torghast type powers where it's like all of your damage. I don't necessarily want that, but I do wish they were a bit more impactful and had some more gameplay to them. But it is what it is. It's fine. So powers get a 7.5 out of 10. Next is Curios. So quick note. So when I say utility, I don't mean like utility Curios. I mean like are there niche scenarios where you can use them outside of like do they have like extra uses besides just doing what they do or like being throughput or whatever. So like a good example of a nice utility curio that I liked was bio rocket fuel in the War Within Season 2. So that was like super sick for speedrunning, and it just like had extra uses outside of just it's good in combat, right? So talk about these here. So Porcelain Blade Tip, I mean it's fine, like it's good. It's not amazing. It's fine. Like it's the best one because like honestly the combat curio offerings are fairly bad in terms of combat, and I am intrigued as to why some of these are listed as combat, right? Like Mantle of Stars, this feels like a utility curio. Holy Bouncing Hand Grenade feels like a utility curio, and Sanctum's Edict feels like a utility curio. So in terms of like pure combat curios, there's really only 2. There's Porcelain Blade Tip and Nether Entropicris. I fucking hate this curio. I have a whole rant video about it, but it's so ass. So this one basically might as well not exist. So really, it's just in terms of combat, you have Porcelain Blade Tip. I mean, these 3 are like okay. Man of Stars is pretty good, but it's not really combat, right? It's like a defensive, right? So those are fine. The utility curios I think is like the star of the show here. Mandate obviously have been talked about to death. It's broken as shit. It's super overpowered. Voidspire, really good. Ebon Crown, really good. Time Lost Edict is fine. Pretty standard. Like, we get something like this almost every season. And then Null Tide is just garbage, but it's kind of interesting. So, in terms of effectiveness, like, I think the combat curio offering is fairly weak. So, I'm going to give that, like a 5 out of 10. And then, but the utility Curios I think are awesome. I'm gonna give that a 10 out of 10. I think really good selection of utility, so 15 out of 20. In terms of utility though, I think this is where it's like really weak. There's like not a lot of flex picks here. Like these don't really do anything other than just throughput, right? Like Porcelain Blade Tip is throughput. Mantle of Stars is like a defensive. Holy Bouncing Hand Grenade is like combination of both. Sanctum's Edict is throughput and a defensive if she's playing tank. Another Entropicus, this is just like fraud watch piece of garbage. Mandate is just throughput. Void Spire is throughput. Ebon Crown is throughput. Edict is throughput. And Null Tide is throughput. There's no real like gameplay like niche picks you can do here, so I'm gonna give this a pretty low score. I'm gonna give it a 3. I think this was really the weak point. Is there's no really interesting Curios. It's just, is it good at throughput? And that's pretty much it. There's no real like flex options or anything like that. So total for Curios, I'm gonna give 18 out of 20. If you want like a more in-depth overview of the Curios, I have a Curio overview video. You can go check that out. And next we got changes / new stuff. This isn't really gonna be like any numerical grading, just sort of what I think about it. So these aren't like individual categories. These are just things I listed to talk about. So some quality of life stuff. I think they did a pretty good job of this. So there's map icons for like where is it here? Nemesis packs. So like you can see them on the mini map here. Like it's got like a little icon on the map. That's cool. Curiosities glow, have like a blue glow on them. They didn't used to have this. This just makes it easier to see, so that's good. Like shards being a currency, like the coffer key shards being a currency is nice. The gear structure, I think it's like okay. I don't really like that the shards are capped. This sort of plays into the remove thing. So shards are capped at 600 a week, which is 6 keys. I don't really like that. Like before with Radiant Echoes, which are those things you can use to get Valor Stones and Coffer Key Shards, like at the, like it's like a World Soul Echo thing or whatever. That's not in the game anymore. These weren't necessarily fun or good, but I do sort of like what they provided, which is like a way to min-max your Coffer Keys and your keys. So I do like that. The Hero Gear vendor, I do like that they put Hero. So Hero Gear was previously part of the Hero Gear on the vendor was part of the turbo boost for the War Within, but this is part of the track for the Delver's Journey. So I do like this as a good addition. They're focused on Warbound gear. I mean, it's nice. Like a lot of people do interface with alts through delves mainly. Like that's their main interface through delves later in the season is with alts. For me, I'm a single character player, so this doesn't really do anything for me, but I do imagine that a lot of people would like this. Like just getting a shit ton of free champion Warbound gear is pretty nice, but not a fan. Cap Journey, this is just one point like that briefly happened, but I find it fairly egregious, so I do want to talk about it. So I don't remember what week it was maybe week 2 or something of Midnight Season 1. They had capped, so in week 1, Delver's Journey was capped at level 4, and then they kept it capped through week 2, but week 2 was the Delve bonus event for the weekly, and then it has not returned since. So for most people who do Delves a lot, the Delver's bonus event did not happen this season because they were capped the week. So when it came out, they were already capped, and they were still capped because they didn't raise the cap that week. And then by the time it's coming back, they're going to be level 10 anyways. So I think this was a pretty big mistake. I don't really like what they did with this at all, especially with the context of like Mythic Plus being so easy. People were saying, oh, well, I mean, they're worried about you getting to level 9 on the Delver's Journey that week, which is insane, and getting hero gear from the vendor. Yeah, man, it's too bad that I'm sure they're really worried about easy sources of hero gear. It's not like Mythic Pluses in the game where you could spam +7s and get infinite hero gear. That's significantly easier than doing just a tier 11. Like a +7 key is absolutely easier than a tier 11 delve, especially this season because Mythic Plus is a joke. So I don't really understand this at all, and I was not very happy with that. Things removed. I don't like that they removed any of these. I guess Radiant Echoes as like a concept, I think was probably good to be removed. They were pretty lame. I do wish they implemented something to replace what it provided, like I mentioned with the shards, though. The skip rooms, I know this was like a season theme, so is what it is. But those are like the challenge rooms where you could click a portal and go skip through the room and do like a challenge room and skip the delve entirely. I thought that was cool, but I get it's like a seasonal theme for War Within Season 3, so not mad about it. Puzzles, they basically have removed those puzzles. This is fine. I mean, these were stupid anyways. It's like those puzzles that you could solve for a power, which gave you like a Torghast power or something. These puzzles, if you guys remember, were like just toddler level puzzles. It was like you clicked one thing. It was like, oh, untangle the webs, and you just took one click to untangle them. So these were like really lame. So I don't hate that these were removed. These are fine. New stuff. I like the customizable gravestone. You have like a couple different options for what your gravestone looks like when you die. So I do like this. This is cool. I do like the outdoor delves as well. I think that was a good addition. For the changes, like flicker gates only being in bountifuls, I think is fine. I do wish they were a rare chance to spawn in regular delves, and I do wish that they spawned in um, repeat bountiful delves. So the way they work now is they'll spawn in a bountiful delve, and only while the delve is bountiful. In the War Within, they spawn in the bountiful delve, and then they continue to spawn 100% of the time in that delve, even after you completed it for that day. And they also had a low chance to spawn in non-bountiful delves. So I wish they kept it the way it was. Flicker gates this season are the sanctified banners, by the way. The Gilded Stash, I think this change was stupid. I kind of get why they did it, because 21 is like a awkward number. So the way it used to work is the Gilded Stash, you'd get 3 Gilded Stashes a week, and each contains 7 crests. So you get 21 Gilded Crests a week. Those are the Myth Crests this season, right? So they changed it to be 5 per Gilded Stash, and you get 4 total, so you get 20. So you do get 1 less, and it takes an extra delve to complete to do for the week. But it is an even number, so that's fine. I mean, ideally, I think like if they wanted to streamline it, they could have done like 2 times 10 or something. That might have been better. You also got crests from the Nemesis boss. I do like that. I do like how you can get some extra crests from the Nemesis, so it's actually worth going to kill him each week, even though he doesn't fill your vault like he used to. And then the vendor change, I think the vendor change was good. So the way the vendor used to work is he only sold trinkets, and he sold like a rotating set of trinkets, right? So like if you, regardless of where you encountered him on a certain day, he always had the same gear. Even if you like ran another delve and saw him, he had the same stuff to sell. But this season he sells everything besides, not just trinkets, and the rotation is not even a rotation. It's just he has a random set of loot when you run a delve. So these were good changes. I'm gonna give the changes overall a 40 out of 50. I think it was good. I think the changes were mostly positive. A couple things I didn't really like too much, like the capped shards, but that's fine. The Flickergate stuff is a minor grievance, but I'm not like super mad about it. And then the stuff that was removed is like the main downside here. I think the skip rooms probably could have come back. I think that would have been fun. The puzzles, I think instead of removing them, they maybe could have made them interesting. But overall, I think the new stuff and the changes that happened with Season 1 of Midnight for Delves was overall pretty positive. And next is the Delver's Journey. So I just pull it up here on Icy Veins, just so I don't have to remember. So I'm just going to, there's 30 points total. There's 10 total ranks. I'm just going to give a rank out of 3 for each point. Let's go through it and total them up. Boons and Blessings. This is where you get Mislaid Curiosities to drop like some buffs. I think that's cool. Not super impactful, but it is nice. I'll just give it a 2. I'm not going to be super granular here. I'm just going to give like general thoughts about each one and just give it a ranking based on how I feel about it. So 2 out of 3 for that. It's not bad, but nothing amazing. Gilded Stash. I like the Gilded. So I like the Gilded Stash. I don't like that they like split it into 2 parts. So this rank basically does nothing. Like you just get extra hero crests from it, which like doesn't matter because you infinitely farm hero crests anyways. So I'm gonna give this one of the Gilded Stash a 1 out of 3. Like the Gilded Stash in concept is good, but this without the Myth crest, it's like pointless. So I don't really think this was worth making a whole rank for. Rank 3, Sanctified Banners are good. 3 out of 3 is just extra loot, makes Bountifuls more interesting. Rare chance at extra champion loot, and I like that it spawns can rarely spawn a large elite, which will give you a better loot box at the end, so that's cool. I like Flicker Gates, and I like Sanctified Banners too. A Gilded Jackpot, I mean, 3 out of 3, right? Like, this is the main thing that people look forward to. It's getting Myth Crest out of Delves, so that's good for me. I like it. I like that they brought it back. Zeron, I've been a big fan of Zeron. I like that. I like the changes, like I just talked about in the previous section. So not much to talk about there. Um, Keys and coffers. So you can purchase keys. I mean, this is just fine. It's like, I don't know. I'll give it like a 1.5. It's like, it's fine. There's nothing crazy about it. It's just they do this every season. At some point, you can purchase 2 keys. I like that this is a little earlier in the track than it usually is, so that's fine, but nothing amazing. Rank 7, this one's fucking ass. All this does is it summons Bran into your delve, and he sells you keys. So it's the same like lockout of keys as these here. So the entire purpose of this one rank of the Delver's Journey is that you can summon Bran to purchase keys inside a delve if you by chance happen to forget to buy them in Silvermoon City. I mean, it's nice. Like, this probably shouldn't have been a whole rank, but it is. So I'm not a big fan of that at all. That's an entire rank, but it is. So whatever. Champion Warbound gear can drop for tier 8. I like that. I'll give that a 3. That's great for alts. This is like a super good option for gearing alts once you've unlocked this. Like, you just swim in champion gear. So really good. This is another 3 out of 3 here. This is just more Zeron stuff. I already talked about him up here. This is the gear vendor, so really like that he sells hero gear, and then you get a chance for extra hero gear from your bountifuls in tier 11. And then a Delver's Journey, Void Breacher title. I'm not talking about the cosmetics very much, but Void Breacher title, and then amount of coffer key shards from all sources increased. It's increased by 50%. So, I mean, whatever. I guess like it's fine. Not in love with it. Like, the cap is so low, cap is 600. Like, you max out the 600 anyways. Like, so getting them 50% faster doesn't really do anything. You're going to get it by doing your weekly stuff anyways. I think this is kind of a waste of the 10. I'm glad they stapled on a bunch of cosmetics. You got a title, you get the bountiful coffer, like, decor item, and you get this Hearthstone item, which is actually really cool. So, but for the actual, like, benefit or, like, gameplay thing, it's kind of weak. So, we add them up. We got 2, 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 15, 18, 19.5. So we got 19.5 for Delver's Journey. Actually, this is 20.5. I can't do math. All good. So 20.5. That's for Delver's Journey. And then Companion, like I said, this is a Season 1 exclusive criteria because we're going to have Valeera the whole expansion. And it's only, I mean, you can only talk about the stuff that's the same one time, right? Not worth talking about her tank, heals, or DPS in the next season because it's the same as this season. So this will be quick. This is just sort of like a vibe check. So for tank, she's fairly weak, honestly, as a tank. I don't love what they did with the tanking aspect where, like, she doesn't have a lot of utility for tanking, like, compared to Bran. So I'm not super high on the tank. I'm going to give the tank a 5 out of 10. I don't play with her very much on tank just because it's, like, fairly weak. On heals, big fan of heals. They made, like, on heals, she actually still does damage. She actually has good utility. Like, she has a Dispel. She'll kick more often. She has stuns. And she has, like, a lot of different ways to heal you. Like, she has the potions. She has circles on the ground that gives you a DR and, like, a ticking heal. I think the suite of stuff she has on heals compared to Bran is a lot better. So I'm a big fan of what they do with the healing. For DPS, I mean, she's just, like, kind of broken on DPS. She does so much damage. Like, so I'm going to give her a 10 out of 10 for DPS for sure. Like, she does so much damage on DPS. And, like, the way it works is she'll, like, try to match your DPS. Like, you'll notice if you're bursting super high, she'll also do a shit ton of damage. But if you're not, like, she keeps it within like a range around the amount of DPS you're doing. So I do like that. Where so you're not gonna get a pull where she's like tripling your damage, and you're not gonna get a pull where like you're tripling her damage, unless there's some like stupid bullshit with her AI, which I'll which I'll talk about here. But DPS, big fan. So overall, with the three roles, I think they did a pretty good job. In terms of in general, I'm honestly gonna give her like a 10 out of 30. I think her personality is pretty garbage. Like people complained about Bran being too annoying, so they introduced the lamest character of all time with Valeera. She has like 5 voice lines. She's not funny. She doesn't say any like goofy lines or anything, and she's her AI got way worse with than Bran. Like she'll actively pull stuff when Bran didn't used to do that, and she fails to gather stuff a lot. Her AI just feels significantly worse than Bran's. And it's kind of made up for the fact that she does so much damage. But I think in terms of like the literal companion herself outside of her roles, I think it's fairly weak. I think Bran was so much better and like flavorful and interesting. So not a big fan of Valeera like as a character and in general, but I think her roles, what they did with her roles was really good. So we got 10, 20, 30, 35. Actually, I think 10 is probably. I'll give it 15. I think 10 is probably too harsh there. So we got 20, 30, 40. So we got 40 out of 60 for the companion. And then finally for just the bonus section. So get the easy one out of the way. So the cosmetic rewards, I think they're fine. Like I like that a lot of the stuff you get is decor, so you can actually show it off. Because a lot of times the mogs are like pretty specific and don't have a lot of wide applicable use in different outfits. So I do like that they shifted a lot towards cosmetics. And the Hearthstone you get is pretty good. So yeah, I'm a fan of the cosmetics. This is just a subjective section. I'm just kind of waffling here, but big fan of the cosmetics this season. I think they did a good job. Delph Hall of Fame. I think this is bad. I don't like that they did this. I think it's bad for the game, and here's why. So I did get it myself, but I think, and I've been saying this for a while since it got data mined on beta, but I think this kind of goes against what delves are supposed to be, and I think it introduces a couple problems. So as I'm sure you've heard many people say, like, oh, I didn't even get a chance to do it. I was working, right? So for NA, this was up, I think, for like maybe 12 hours, 12 or 13 hours, if that. And on EU, it was up for even less. So you basically had to, within the 12 hours. So I'll do this with Eastern Standard Time, give you the timeline here. So the servers came up at like, I don't know, like 2:30 or 3 o'clock p.m. And then it was closed. The Hall of Fame was closed at like around 3 a.m. So 12 hours. So the workday ends around 5 for most people. So they probably don't get home until 5:30 or 6. And then if you're working a normal job and you need to get up for work, you're probably going to bed at like 10:30 or 11. So you had a 5-hour window among like in which you also had to do all your other stuff like make dinner, shower, like if you have kids, do stuff with your kids or whatever. You had like that short window to enter the game, level up your delve. So like it was stopped at tier 7, so you had to unlock a tier 9, a tier 10, and then unlock the tier 11. So do an 8, a 9, and a 10, and then you had to go get some extra gear. Unless you would like if you were below 240, you probably had to get some extra gear because it was barely doable at like 243 for a lot of classes. And then you had to fight the boss and kill it. So that's all within that short period of time. And for EU, it was even worse because they were like this. I'm pretty sure the whole time frame that this was available was like during the workday. So really bad implementation. And then like a lot of people will say for the alternative, okay, well they could just extend it for the week. Well, then that kind of defeats the purpose of it, right? It's like 4,000 people get it, but if you extend it for the week, then like 22,000 people would get it or something. Like it would essentially just defeat the purpose of it being a Hall of Fame. So it either is self-defeating in its purpose, or it's just kind of cringe and annoying. And I say this as someone who has this, right? It's sort of like if you raid, a good comparison is like the um, the Dream Rift Hall of Fame. Like 1,000 guilds got in the Dream Rift Hall of Fame. Usually with the Raid Hall of Fame, like the lockout is extended for the week that it ends, and like maybe like 5 or 8 more guilds will get into it. But like it like almost 6x'd the number of guilds that got into the Dream Rift Hall of Fame. So like that's kind of like a Mickey Mouse Hall of Fame, and I think the same thing would happen if you did it with this. So there's two outcomes. It's either super cringe and annoying and like extremely limited, and you need to like not have a job to get it, or it's like basically pointless and just says if you kill him the first week. So I think both of those don't sound super good. I think they should just remove this from the game, honestly. And I'd been saying this from day one when I found out about it, so I'm gonna stick with that. I think they should just going forward no longer do the Delve Hall of Fame. In terms of gear, I'm not super happy with how they handled gearing and turbo boost with Delves this season. So the bonus, so for gearing, I really do think there should be a way to get myth gear from Delves. But like, if you want to say, okay, not at the beginning of the season, that's fine. But I think at least for turbo boost, you should be able to. Like, the fact that they allowed Mythic Plus to get myth gear for turbo boost with the bonus rolls is good. I like that, but to not do it for Delves, I think is kind of silly. Like we're at the point in the season where gearing isn't really like a progression or serious thing. Like they're just handing it out for free. Like you get up to 3 pieces of myth loot per week from Mythic Plus. You get 2 bonus rolls, and then you either get a third bonus roll from your vault, or you get the mythic piece from the vault that you get in your Mythic Plus row. So they're handing out myth gear like candy in Mythic Plus, which is super easy this season. But in Delves, like they just seem super averse to giving you anything myth track in here, and it's like doubly weird as well this season because you get the Gilded Stash which has Myth Crest. You can't use the Myth Crest at all on your hero gear. In the War Within, you used to be able to use the hero gear. Like the last 2 upgrades of the hero track took Myth Crests, but like so it kind of makes sense that they existed. But I guess you could argue now they exist. So after 4 weeks, you could craft 1 item. But I think they do need to revisit this and rethink this, like how it interacts with like myth gear and what kind of stuff you can get. I think minimum like after turbo boost they should open this up to myth gear. I don't see why. Like who is this hurting, right? It's fine. So I'm not a big fan of what they did with that, but that's sort of my thoughts on this, like some of the stuff listed here in this bonus section. And that's the whole rankings. Let's go through and tally up everything. So we got 49. Let's clear this off. Make sure we're all clear. So we got 49.75 plus 12 plus 30 plus 23 plus 7.5 plus 18 plus 40 plus 20.5 plus 40. So you got 240 out of 370 possible points. That's like, what, like a 66? So we'll just divide that by 3.7. It's like a 65. Like, you might be thinking, that's like really bad. I don't think it's that bad. It's like getting a 100 is like perfect. Everything is amazing. Everything works 100% to its absolute peak and is really, really good. So basically, I think anything over a 50 is good. I basically break it down like 50 and below is like bad. I'd say 50 to 60 is solid. 60 to 70 is like pretty good. And then 70 to 85 is really good. And then 85 to 100 is like all-time banger. So this was like pretty good. This is a pretty good season. I think there was some issues. Like I said, I mean, I talked about them all through here. So, but total score, I'm going to give it a 65. I'll round up, even though it's .06. I'll round up. I'll give it a 66. So 66 out of 100. But overall, pretty good. I think they did a fairly good job here. Yeah, I mean, I talked about the various issues, but yeah, overall, Midnight Season 1, I think was pretty good.